Much better after a close win than a close loss. Before I start, I want to give a quick shout out to Kyle Washington. Kyle is one of our young coaches on staff. He played at Cincinnati for Mick Cronin. He was an assistant last couple of years at Iona. We brought him in. He's an unbelievable player back in the day, almost a double-double, like big-time player in college, played professionally for a little bit. He's our video guy, so he took a step down from where he was at last year. Obviously, the Iona staff was let go, and he's come in and done an incredible job from top to bottom. No job's too small for him. You know, he shows up every day with a great attitude. I'm bringing him up because it was his scout tonight, and he gave a pregame speech where, you know, first of all, his scout was incredible, detailed from top to bottom, but he gave a pregame speech that I don't quite know where he was going with it, but it was provocative, and it got the people going. I wanted to play after it. I wanted to suit up and play. The locker room was so fired up, and you could tell in our play in the first half. And Kyle's going to be an unbelievable. He's going to be a head coach someday. He's doing an incredible job from top to bottom for us. So just wanted to give him a shout out for a great job tonight. He was not in charge of our free throw shooting. That's fully on me. I mean, we practice free throws nonstop. If you guys come to practice, we practice them every day. We practice pressure free throws where, you know, there's punishment on the line if you miss them. We practice volume free throws. We practice form shooting. And for whatever reason, the rim had a lid on it tonight. When the bright lights are on, the popcorn's popping. And I told our guys, that's how you lose close games. You lose close games by missing free throws, by turning the ball over down the stretch, and by playing undisciplined. And we tried to give that game away. We missed a lot of free throws. We were undisciplined defensively, and we turned the ball over in key moments. Now, what won us the game was guys like Lajae Jones stepping up and grabbing big-time rebounds down the stretch. Chauncey Wiggins carrying us when nothing was working offensively, and getting stops down the stretch despite not being able to score. And I told, you know, AD Michael Alford walking out of the locker room that I don't know how, but I've become Leonard Hamilton. It was the first of 63 tonight. If you would have told me after the preseason that we would win a game 63-61, we would shoot 1 for 8 in the second half from 3 and miss 10 free throws and win the game, I would have called you a liar. But here we are. And honestly, it's a good message and a good reminder for our guys. There's two sides of the basketball. You have to get stops, you have to rebound the ball, regardless of what's going on offense. And I thought, for the most part, despite some stretches in the second half, we did that tonight.
You said after the Wake Forest game, it wasn't turnovers or scoring that lost you guys that game. It was defense and rebounding. Sounds like tonight that was what won you the game, was what you're saying. Was that an experience you guys drew back on? Was it just reps? Why tonight were they able to hold on?
Yeah, it's really been the message since that NC State debacle, where we gave up I don't know what they scored, 113, a billion points. That guys, we're not going back. I'm going to play guys that have some urgency defensively, and I'm going to find units that can try to string stops together. And if our offense suffers, our offense suffers. Now, we're still going to try to play the way we want to play offensively and score the ball and generate wide open threes, which I thought we did tonight. But before the threes come, we got to attack the rim, which leads to free throws, and we got to knock down the free throws. We had some great looks from the perimeter. We just didn't knock them down. But to answer your question, if you just sit down and guard and have some pride and playing 5 guys against the ball, limiting paint touches, which I thought we did a good job of tonight, contesting shots, and then rebounding the basketball, you're going to be in every game. Like, you're not going to get blown out. And teams certainly won't score 113 on you. I don't know what NC State had, but it was a lot of points. And so by that, you're going to be in a lot of close games. And now down the stretch, you have to do the little things, the little details that will win you those games. And I thought tonight our second half was poor, but down the stretch, we made some big plays that helped us win the game. And I felt against that Wake Forest game, obviously we turned it over too much, but they made 1 or 2 more plays down the stretch than we did. And, you know, I think the close games are going to continue. We play I could be wrong. I think there's 10 teams in the ACC right now at 500 or under, and I think we play 8 or 9 of them. And those games, when you play, I'm no mathematician, but when you beat them, it's like a double win. It's you get a win and they get a loss. And so all those, right now we're fighting to get to the ACC tournament. And our guys are aware of it. I operate in black and white. I don't hide elephants in the room. I don't want this season to end short. I don't want to be watching the ACC tournament from my couch. And so these games against all these opponents that are right there within 2 or 3 games of each other, especially at this point in the season, are pivotal in fighting to get in the ACC tournament. And obviously, that's a very low bar, but it's where we're at. And so all of these games, we have to have an identity of defending and rebounding. And then once we get stops, then you can have some fun. Then you can get out and run. Then you can generate, those paint touches and those threes and play in transition. But it starts with our defense and rebound.
You mentioned Lajae's rebound at the end, but then Rob got that tie up after
Yeah.
they got a rebound. Like those, how did you guys go from that team that had that game against NC State to this team now that gets the hustle plays and like what was the breakthrough?
Yeah, I think a few things happened. First and foremost, a big credit to the character in our locker room. I think the guys decided they didn't want to go out like this. We have 6 seniors on this team. That was completely and utterly embarrassing, especially at home. And that's happened a few times this year. But they collectively have come together. They have this saying, 10 toes. And it took me a second to figure out what they meant by it. And they came up with it, their own meeting, and it means like, be where your feet are. Don't worry about what's going on. Don't worry about the last play. Don't worry about the last run. Just 10 toes, just be right where your feet are. And when you have that attitude, you focus on the present and what you can do in the moment. And so I was really impressed. I'm too dumb to come up with sayings like that. I was really impressed that they came up with that, but a big credit to them not letting this season slip away and not splintering. And it's really easy to blame other people. They've done a really good job, and our staff from top to bottom has done a good job, take me out of it, of keeping everyone focused on what they can control. And you can control your attitude and your effort every single day despite circumstances. And I think over this last stretch of games, win or lose, these guys show up to get better, they show up to work, and I hope you guys can see the improvement from week to week and game to game.
You talked about never could have imagined this would be how you'd win a game, the score like that, the way it played out, all that. What has that process been like for you? You had an idea of what this team was going to be, and you're maybe having to adapt to that's not what it is. What's that process been like for you, and how valuable a lesson is that for you?
Yeah, I think that's the job of a head coach. You got to show up every day and do what's best for the group, and it's not always what's best for you or what you think is best. And I have a way I want to play, and that's going to continue for the most part. But you guys may think otherwise, but I'm not an idiot. I see the same game you guys are seeing, and when something's not working, I'm not going to continue to get my teeth kicked in out of stubbornness. And I'm doing, first of all, I'm learning a ton. I'm first-time head coach, everyone knows that. First time coaching in college, everyone knows that. And I will continue to learn a lot, and I'll continue to make mistakes. I think I'm a way better coach now than I was 3 months ago, and even really 3 weeks ago. I think that process will continue to take place. But my job is to get our group better, and sometimes adapting on the fly and learning from your mistakes can really help the group. And to me, I was way too focused on the offense. And I love scoring the ball, and that's going to continue. I want to play a certain pace. We're going to keep recruiting guys that fit that style. But I'm also not going to just watch us play like the Harlem Globetrotters and launch threes and when we don't make them, get blown out. And when you make them, everyone's having a party. It's like, no, there has to be a consistent, happy medium between playing fast, generating good looks that aren't always threes, and then playing defense. Like the best teams, they're 2 sides of the ball. And I thought our shot outcomes were affecting the rest of the game to the point where we were getting embarrassed. And to me, I'm not going to sit here and just watch that over and over again. So I've done a little adjusting. I think the staff's done a really good job helping me adjust. And I think that will continue. That'll continue roster to roster. I think there's foundational things of the way we want to play, but we're also going to form rosters and then adjust to what's best of those guys.
You mentioned Lajae's impact on the boards. Team high plus 13. What can you say about his growth throughout the season, and then especially tonight, struggling to shooting but still having a good impact on the game?
Yeah, Lajae was 3 for 14 tonight, and he won player of the game for us. He had some huge plays throughout the game. He had 2 big blocks where at one point in the season, everyone on the court would have given up on those plays. One was a chase down in transition. Another one was a backside rotation where it wasn't his responsibility. He saw a job needed to be done. He stepped up and did it. Those are the plays that lead to close wins. And Lajae, for his size, and he's got good positional size, he's about 6'7", and he's strong. He's a strong dude. For him to come up with 5 offensive rebounds tonight was incredible. And he's had a big focus, again, and it's kind of a microcosm for the team. Regardless of what's going on offense, just do your job. And your job right now is to guard and rebound the ball. And I think Lajae has done a better job than anyone on our team showing up and finding the little areas that he can help the team win games.
AJ Swinton, is a guy that didn't even play in some games, and now I feel like he was, in your closing lineup, probably the last 5-6 minutes, played maybe 4 of them. So obviously he's done some things to earn that playing time, and I was just curious if you could talk a little bit about how he's kind of evolved as the season's come along.
Yeah, AJ, and I'll say this: Kobe's been battling through. He got kneed in the thigh really tough against Syracuse. Most guys probably would have sat out. He said he doesn't want to miss a game his senior year, but he and he still isn't. He's not at 100%, but he's getting close. So Kobe's minutes go down. Obviously, you got to film with someone with respect to our defense and again rebounding. AJ Swinton fits that mold. I will say this about AJ. AJ was out of the rotation, nothing to do with his play, and everything to do with off the court. He was undisciplined. He was making mistakes. He was violating team rules at times. And again, as the leader of this program, if you let that fly from day one, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Not just this year, but just with regards of building a good program. And so he's done an unbelievable job turning around this season, and it has nothing to do with basketball. It has everything to do with showing up and being a man and doing your job, taking care of your responsibilities. No, it's all good. You jumped, you're excited. And so he's done an unbelievable job recently off the court, which has led to on the court minutes and production. And those two things go hand in hand. If you can't do your job off the court, doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to play here. And I give a ton of credit to AJ, and again to the locker room for holding AJ accountable. And now you see, the however you want to call it, the seeds turning into a flower, because he's now handling his business off the court, and he gets minutes, and he's so long, he's so athletic, he's a great defender, he has great instincts. He's not a high volume scorer, but he can get things done for us defensively and rebounding and size and switchability. And so I'm really, really pleased with AJ's progression, because it could have easily gone the other way where I got to kick someone off the team. And I never want to do that as a coach. I want to help these guys, and to AJ's credit, he's done a good job turning that around.
You took a timeout in the first half. I think Cal just hit a 3, 18-14. You guys went on a 28-9 run to close out the half. One, what'd you say in the timeout to kind of spark that? And two, you have that on film. How do you get these guys to maybe get that level more consistently, especially to close out these halves of games?
Yeah, I called that timeout. I think it's the one you're talking about, because Thomas Bassong, and first of all, again, Thomas has been unbelievable. We thrust him into the starting lineup. Bless you if that was a sneeze. We thrust him into the starting lineup. He's done an incredible job embracing his role. He's taking on the hardest matchup every night. He's working his tail off. He's flying around. Thomas is going to develop into an unbelievable player at this level, and you see it right before your eyes. But back to why I called that timeout. Thomas drove in. He felt like he got fouled. Might have been a foul, maybe not. And he turned and looked at the refs and said something to him. And to me, that's the biggest no-no. I call it next play speed. Good things happen, bad things happen. You got to immediately move on to the next play. Some of their guys saying the 10 toes, like be right where you're at. They're running in transition. You're turning and talk to the ref. to me, it's one of the most selfish things in basketball. And I'm not just singling out Thomas, I'm singling out the whole team. When you turn and want to plead your case while your guys play 5-on-4, that's a problem. They push it up the court, advance it, hit a three. And it was contested, but it was a transition three. It was a catch and shoot, which is a pretty efficient shot. Well, Thomas trailed the play. And so I called that timeout specifically to scream at Thomas, but also to tell the guys, you no longer have the responsibility of speaking to the refs. Leave that to me, and I'll find appropriate ways to address the officiating, which I think was pretty good tonight. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, just like all of our jobs. But it is not your responsibility to plead your case, especially during a live play. And I think the guys resonated with that, and they went out and did their job, and we went on a little run. But it was a learning moment for not only Thomas, but for the whole team of, like, again, focus on what you can control. Yelling at the refs isn't going to do anything for you. If anything, it's going to hurt you. They're humans just like we are. When you yell at me, I don't want to give you a call. And so for him to understand the importance of that as we move forward in close games, I think our coaching staff got the message across.
You mentioned Coach Washington doing the scout. I know Coach Ham was always big on letting the staff do the scouts. Is that common, especially with a video guy, to have doing the scout, or is that something specifically because of your respect for him to have him doing that?
Yeah, so the way we break it, and everyone breaks it down differently. I actually have seen both sides of it in the NBA, of who gets the scouts and who has the responsibilities. As a young coach with Golden State, Steve Kerr rewarded, I would say, it was a privilege to get a scout, and he gave us all opportunities to get in front of the team and teach. And to me, it really helped my growth as a coach, as a young coach, as a player development coach, where all you worry about is getting guys better. To stand in front of the team, first of all, to prepare, you have to watch the previous 5 games of Cal. You're in charge of offense, you're in charge of the defense, you're in charge of personnel. And then not only to organize all that, which in itself is a feat, to stand in front of a group and find strategy and tactics. And obviously he's working with me, he's working with the offense coordinator and defense coordinator. But it's like you're the head coach of the scout. I always thought I learned so much from that experience. Whenever I became a head coach, I wanted to give younger guys opportunities to be in charge of something. And so the majority of our scouts go to Jim Moran, Gerald Gillian, and Chris Kent. Michael Flies, our GM, he doesn't have any scouts because he's helping me raise money. He's helping me organize recruiting, organize the portal. But he's still part of our staff, still part of film sessions, still helping us coach. So those 4 kind of handle most of it. Derwin Kitchen's still learning how to coach, which has been awesome for him. He's learned how to do film, he's learned how to break things down, but he's been great for our players. And then Kyle Washington and Justin Linder both have a couple scouts throughout the year. And for Kyle and Justin, they're again, I love our staff. They work their tails off, which I enjoy, but they have great attitudes. And I think players resonate with former players who not only put in the work and are prepared and organized, but also they can speak the language. A lot of times as coaches, we speak like coaches. The players are looking at you like you're an old grandpa. It's like you got to relate to these guys, you know? And that's where Justin, and we have a younger staff in general, but the former head coaches can do this in their sleep. Still a lot of work, but getting in front of a group, there's no nerves, there's no, like, you got a job to do. For Justin and Kyle in particular, it's a great opportunity for them to be in charge and take some accountability for, listen, the ball's in your court. Like, we're going to listen to you on that. You watched all the film. If I'm lucky with my schedule, I can watch 2 games leading into a game. But everything that, outside of I think I watched 1.5 Cal games going in this game, I studied all of Justin's, top to bottom offense, top to bottom defense, top to bottom personnel, his written report. Like, it's a lot of work. And so I'm trusting his work going into this game to be prepared. And then, like I said, I thought he did an unbelievable job motivating the team. There was screaming, there was quotes on the wall. It was chaos, but the boys, like, they fed off of it, and that to me is a pretty cool moment. Thank you guys.